I'm John Fensterwald.
And I'm Kathy Barron. Together we write and edit toped.org, a forum on California education policy.
Join us while we interview interesting and important leaders in education. You'll learn a lot in 10 minutes or less. I'm John Fensterwald, and we're back with Dean Vogel, who is the incoming president of the California Teachers Association. So, Dean, let's pick up where we left off. And one of the issues of interest is tenure. California is one of the few states in the nation, and tenure is defined as extension of due process rights to teachers. One of the few states in which you can grant tenure after 2 years. Would you be open to granting tenure 3 or 4 years?
I think the question really is, what kind of assessment do we need to do of teacher quality or teacher effectiveness in order to grant permanent status? Because really in California, that's what we're talking about. We're going to give you permanent status, and once you have permanent status, what it means is that if we're going to terminate you, then we've got to notify you, and we've got to give you, we've got to appreciate your due process and give you the opportunity to stand before the folks that are challenging you and build your case. The question really becomes, what kind of process should we use to determine whether or not you have what it takes to be an effective teacher? And in some cases, 2 years is plenty of time. You know, if you've got the right kind of evaluator, if you've got people that really have a pedagogical understanding of the dynamics of teaching and learning and can really evaluate your effectiveness in a 2-year period, it's very adequate. I mean, some places are saying 3, some are saying 4. You know, right now our position is, I mean, the Ed Code, I mean, just, you know, here in California is 2 years.
Right. It's really 1.5 by the time
by March 15th.
Right.
I think we're very open to having a thoughtful conversation about how the system for inducting teachers and credentialing them and giving them permanent status, how that's all handled. Yeah. Because there are a lot of problems right now.
So would you be open to say 2 years, and if you can extend it to 3, if you feel that teacher is not ready after 2?
I think what I would be open to is giving people the opportunity to argue it and to debate it, because really CTA is driven by our State Council of Education. That's our policy-making body. A couple of our standing committees have a lot of purview here. Teacher evaluation and academic freedom is one of them. Credentials and professional development is one of them. And so it would take recommendations from those committees, argued on the floor of council, to really, you know, give us a position. My job as president to make sure that process unfolds in a timely manner and that due process.
Let's talk about financing and money in California. And let me preface by saying CTA has certainly been called one of the most powerful players in Sacramento, if not the, and yet California remains, by various measures, one of the least funded per student in the state in terms of money. So is that a reflection on CTA's effectiveness, or is it that people don't understand the way finances work? How do you explain that?
Yeah, I'd say an incredible stretch to extrapolate the downward spiral of the economy to the effectiveness of CTA, because I know you're not saying that you know, we were complicit with the downfall of the housing market or the nonsense on Wall Street.
No, it was lower.
You know,
it was least funded before even the recession.
But the predicament is this. We need more money in the general fund, and I think the citizens of California are really starting to come to an understanding of the infrastructure needs of communities, and you know, it's public education, police and fire protection, transportation infrastructure, health and human services. All of those components support communities, and part of the problem in California is the tax structure that we currently have isn't necessarily designed to give communities that kind of support, especially when the majority of people have much more of the tax burden than the wealthiest among us, or some of the big corporations. And I think we've got to be bold enough to say things out loud, like we've got to look at the tax structure. We've got to start having a conversation around tax fairness. We've got to start talking to one another about how should it really be if what If what government is about is supporting the needs of communities and supporting the infrastructure needs of communities, and the way you fund that is through the tax structure, should there be a time when we have a thoughtful conversation about what that really means?
But could it also be that people are not confident that money will be used effectively and efficiently if they give it?
I think that's all part of the conversation. You know,
particularly as it relates to schools. How does that?
We have a real difficult time in the last 10, 15 years in this. I would say in this state, but in this country, of just having the kind of argument and debate that you need to have to really fully vet issues without personalizing it or making it a highly politically charged thing. I'll tell you, I believe it doesn't matter whether you're the most progressive Democrat or the most conservative Republican or anywhere in between there. You know, you have basically the same needs. You want your community to be viable. You want an education system that's going to support your kids. We don't talk very much about how do we make that happen. We spend too much time arguing partisan political issues that are irrelevant. And I think one of the things California Teachers Association can do, because we are teachers, is that we can help bring people together and we can help people start having to have these conversations.
Well, one of the things about California is it's a very, particularly education funding, Proposition 98, it's very confusing for people who don't study it every day to understand how it's funded, where the money comes from. It's really not based on what a kid's needs are. And one of the bills before the legislature now is Assemblywoman Julia Brownlee's AB 18, which would basically simplify, provide more flexibility, and perhaps head towards a weighted student formula in which more money would be provided for English learners and low-income children. Now, CTA has taken a position against that. And could you explain why and explain what it is that CTA is looking for in finance reform?
First of all, I think it's important that we have this conversation around Prop 98, because that's one of the things we do, is we spend a good deal of time saying that we've got to protect the integrity of Prop 98 and the viability of Prop 98. Remember, Prop 98, it's over 20 years old, and it was written to kind of protect public education while we were trying to mitigate the impacts of Prop 13. So an attempt to look at public education funding, namely Prop 98, and try to fix it, we think that's probably a good idea. In fact, we established an education funding work group 2 years ago to do that very thing. The problem with this particular bill, and I think Assemblymember Brownlee has a good heart. I think she's trying to do the right thing. It's just that when you do things fast because of the urgency of the situation, you don't have nearly the time you need to fully vet the idea, and the unintended consequences of the action really haven't been explored fully. So we're nervous about what can happen when you move so quickly.
Well, Dean, I wish we had more time. We have 2 years to talk, and I welcome you back, and we'll continue these conversations, and best of luck leading CTA.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much.
John Fensterwald for Top Ed. Thanks for watching.